Welcome on into the Utah Blockcast. I'm Steve Bartle, Utah Insider for KSLSports.com. Joined tonight by the fellas, Cam Beck, Tyson Mall. Guys, we've had a bye week. We've had some time away. Obviously, the season is what it is. I'm just diving right into this. Just real quick, how we doing?
We're good.
You were okay?
We're the bye week. That was a perfect time for the bye week. Like I worked on my house for like 14 hours between Saturday and Sunday. It was great.
Love it, dude.
It sounds bad, but it's like one of those things like, good bye week. I'm just gonna work on my house. I'm not gonna give, two craps.
We're gonna need a before and after picture.
I'll get. I'll put them out there.
I agree. It was the perfect time for the bye week. Given the state of Utah football, I am not sure this last weekend. I'm not sure a loss this last weekend would have been what I needed.
Yeah. A nice break.
Nice break. Yeah, it was breaking in the action this fall. What a year. What a month.
What a month, dude! what a couple of years. We thought last year was like, oh yeah, this is rock bottom. This is we bottomed out for Utah football. It's going to be better next year.
Remember when we used to talk about how good Utah football was in October? Like, oops,
automatic, dude. These guys just don't even worry about this slate of the schedule. This is like, easy. Peasy.
Sometimes things happen that last week of September. Sometimes things happen those first couple weeks in November. But October, we're solid. Nope,
that's our month, baby.
Not anymore.
Ain't got to worry about that.
It's Bizarro season. Throw it all away.
Oh man,
everything you know is a lie.
Listen, we got it's all out. It's out of the system. It's flushed out. November's a new month, guys.
Halloween was the purge. We're free.
Ween hollowed. Like, let's go.
Holy moly, man. We can only hope, right? And, what a way
Truly, that's all we can do is hope. That's all we got.
That's all we have. And I don't even know how much hope we have left.
It's the hope that kills you, too.
Like, it is. Oh man, this is where we're at. And what a welcoming to the month of November with the rivalry game.
God.
Oh man. So how did we get here? How did we get to Utah losing 4 straight? Our beloved month of October, once strong and a source of happiness, now just miserable. 4 straight losses. Utah's 4-4. Just how did this happen?
The devil came to collect, man. Whatever deal was made for the 2 Rose Bowl appearances and the 2 conference championships, the devil came to collect this year.
Time's up.
Time's up. Hopefully we've given our end of the deal at this point, and we can start going up from here, because I don't know if I can take more of the more going down. It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's just the bell tolls. Just
just
ringing.
I'm not sure. Yeah, like the greatest lie what is it? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he wasn't a Gatorade cooler on the sideline of I think that's more or less how we got here.
The damn Gatorade cooler. It's been wild this season. Literally, we're talking about, because it's made worse because of what happened last year. It feels like just 24 months of nothing but the same pain. That's what it feels like. It's insane just how this has unraveled. Crazy.
Yeah, and the thing I keep coming back to is it's so easy to get down on ourselves as fans, as people who are kind of reporting to the team and getting fans excited about this team and stuff. Like, it's so easy to start second guessing, like maybe we were wrong about this team, and maybe this team isn't that talented, and maybe this staff just isn't that good. And then I keep remembering, like, everyone was wrong. Like, it's not it's not like when Utah fans, when you're getting yelled at online by these other Big 12 fans about how arrogant you were, like, sure, but like everyone thought you were right. Like,
everybody,
all of the conference media thought you were right. The larger national media thought you were right.
Yeah,
the way I look at it, we were right. Like, I will fight anybody about that. Like, it took
a long fight.
It took a Gatorade cooler and just the perfect storm of crap to turn Utah into what it is right now. This is not just like, oh, Utah was fully healthy and just disappointed everybody. Like, everything is unraveled, and I will die on the hill of we were right that Utah was the conference favorites before the season started. You won't convince me otherwise.
No, I think you're totally right. I think that, like, with the 4 games of kind of hell that we've been through now, I think I feel comfortable. I think I've settled emotionally on it would have happened at some point. Like, the big Gatorade cooler in the sky always comes around, you know? Like, I think at some point, something like Cam just wasn't going to make it through the season. Like,
that cooler was going to get him one way or another.
And so,
whether during a game, after a game, at his house, he was going to find a way.
There's a knock at the door, and he opens it, and it's such a Gatorade cooler just there in front of his front door.
Yeah, it's that It Follows movie where in every scene there's a Gatorade cooler somewhere in the background. And ultimately, you know, the Gatorade cooler comes for us all at the end. And I think that's what I've kind of, it's like, you know what, it sucks that it happens when it did, but would it have hurt worse if Utah was in the race late in the season and then lost it all? I don't know, maybe, but this sucks pretty bad too. So
yeah. It's interesting. I've come to this comparison, right, of QBs being pitchers, essentially, right? You have your pitchers have their teammates, right, and they have their warts. They're always there, right? A good pitcher is able to mask those deficiencies, right? He's able to eliminate those worries with a great pitching night, right? Like, you don't have to worry about defensive mistakes, errors, that sort of thing when you've got somebody pitching really well. And that's what Cam essentially was for this offense. I think we've realized that, you know, there were a lot of warts with the offense that Cam, you know, helped to cover up. It's not that, and this isn't like, this is for every football team. You don't have a perfect football. There's no perfect football team outside of, you know, one of the Alabama teams that could just do whatever they want. Every team has its warts. Every team has its weaknesses. And, you know, for Utah, we got to see all of those warts on the offense side of the ball this season.
Are you saying we're the 2010s LA Angels, where we have all the offensive firepower, but once the starting pitcher's gone, it doesn't matter?
I thought he was saying
that's depressing.
I thought he was saying that Cam covers first when the ground ball goes to the first baseman.
Oh no.
I thought that's what he meant.
No, that's not. No,
I thought that's what he meant. But like, the good pitcher covers up for the bad deep. The good pitcher goes to first when the ground ball is there and it's 2 outs and you're going to get out of the inning without any runs.
Shout out to Antonio, the only person that I know that's going to hear this, and he's going to just get so angry again.
Furlong will hear this.
Oh, that's Furlong too. I forgot he's a Yankees fan.
I think Furlong is boycotting the Blockcast after I outed him and his shoes issue in the press box. So, But yeah, like
I
think
know why we make Yankees references if Furlong's not listening.
Me neither. Yeah. We need to fit a Cowboys reference in here now.
He's too caught up. It's probably Lakers season anyway. I'm sure he's busy.
He had a great time watching LeBron and Bronny play the other night. He was thoroughly enjoying that night.
Did you see that opening night? That 0 points in 3 minutes for Bronny?
What a loved it, dude. Furlong was hyped. Man, we are so far off the rails. Anyways, so yeah, back to the Gatorade cooler. It's sad, disappointing that you can all boil down the season to that damn cooler, but everything just sort of unraveled from there. And obviously, Cam coming back against Arizona State and 3 plays into that game, he gets rolled up on,
just destroyed.
Obviously, the fact that his foot was still attached to his body on that play, so it's unfortunate. And like you guys were saying, it's not that this team has gotten exponentially worse, like they've lost talent. They haven't been monstered as much as it feels like that sometimes, where the talent is just gone and you're wondering where the hell it went. Like there's no other explanation other than the fact that aliens came down and took their powers through a football. Like sometimes it genuinely feels like that. Like Utah got monstered. The offense it's a shell of itself, and when you lose confidence, you start to struggle. It just becomes harder and harder, and we've seen kind of the results, obviously over the last 4 weeks, and here we are.
It's the gritty remake where the Monstars just kick the crap out of the other guys with like crowbars and bats, and that's what happened. They didn't steal their talent; they just broke them physically.
I mean, look at the injury report. Good grief! The only explanation is crowbars. It's not issues with the strength and conditioning program. It's that they're getting crowbars taken to shoulders and stuff.
I think we should look into it.
Somebody, where's the security camera tape?
At a certain point with all these injuries, it's just like, so what is going on?
We got to look at the tape, the security tape. That's what we got to be looking at.
So now we've lost 3 offensive starters now for the season: Cam, Money, and Mokafisi.
Yeah, I shared that in the Discord a couple weeks ago that Moka was done. Who else has gotten injured? Obviously, the injuries along the defensive line, just the rotation of guys. Karani Reed out for a while. Kenan Johnson, obviously first game of the season. There's been just a myriad of injuries on both sides of the ball, and so. I think Utah certainly needs to look at a lot of things this offseason, and we can talk about all that stuff, in a later episode. But getting back to the topic this week at hand, Utah coming out of the bye week after evaluating the quarterback position. Kyle Whittingham has a plan at quarterback, and they feel optimistic about the plan this week going into the BYU game. And so, we'll see what that plan does and how it translates with the plan.
I have a question about the plan.
Yes, go ahead.
Have they previously felt pessimistic about the plans at quarterback? I'm just curious.
There were certainly question marks around the plan.
I'm just wondering if now there's a plan and maybe there was before just concepts of a plan. I don't know. I don't know if you can tell if we're dancing around the topic of this game, if it's any indication of how we're feeling about it.
Man. Yeah. So they've cobbled, the plan together this past week after further evaluation, and so we'll see what that does. For you guys, before we get into the game and all that, let's talk about something that happened this week. Something was said. We don't need to say it, but you know what it is. We know what it is. You know what it is. And I'm just curious, when Jaylon Glover said those 2 words, the reaction, what did you guys think of everything that came with that?
I mean, I tweeted as much about this. Like, the Utah BYU rivalry gets like a little bit of like prestige taken down compared to like the rest of college football rivalries, strictly for the fallout from those comments on how bent out of shape fans from both sides were. Like, that's standard rivalry stuff, guys. You guys, like, if you were up in arms about that, you'd have a stroke if you heard what was actually said on the field during this game, or really any football game. Like, it's rivalry stuff, man. Like, I think it's just crazy that you can like get bent out of shape about that. Like, you want your guys doing that in a rivalry game. You want your guys saying that about other teams in a rivalry game. Like, it's football.
Yep.
Like, it blows my mind that it's such a pearl clutching thing on, oh, he said this. Like, it's a football rivalry. Like, you die from a stroke if you heard what was actually said on the field during this game.
Yeah, I think this rivalry has a particular dynamic that has caused both of these fan bases to be incredibly soft when it comes to trash talk. They just have absolutely no. There's this, and I tweeted about this as well, but there's this air of civility around this game that both teams must uphold to be like, no, we are in fact the decent ones, and we shan't be seen otherwise. And so anytime there's anything that even borders on offensive, it's as though we've slighted a family member. And it's like, I can appreciate some of the reasons that caused that, and some of the like cultural aspects of Utah and of these two schools that have created some of that dynamic. But Tyson, you're exactly right. This is ridiculous. This is standard rivalry stuff. Like, the national kind of feedback to the story from the Tribune of Jaylon Glover's apology was just like, is this a joke? Like,
yeah.
He said F his rival in rivalry week. Like, what's he supposed to say? Like, yeah. It was very much the joke was, why would he apologize? Who asked him to apologize for this? And is the reason. And the reason is because otherwise the other fan base is going to say that we're big dumb meanies, and like, we just won't let that happen. And it's just like, oh my God, who gives a damn? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I at times appreciate things about this rivalry, and at times how civil it can be in some ways. But like, I also see through a lot of the facade, and like, I don't care. Like, we're all dirtbag college football fans. Like, I think it would be a lot more fun if we just started acting like it. Like, it doesn't mean you have to hate each other. You can hate your teams. You can talk crap on the other team. It would do both of these fan bases a lot of good to have a little bit more of that in this rivalry, because
authenticity, genuineness. Yes.
I thought that someone made a really good point that it was basically like, a lot of fans of a team who were really mad when an opposing quarterback said F Utah on his fingernails, now telling their rivals that it's not a big deal that their player said F their team, like, in an interview. It's just like, you can't have it both ways. Like,
you
can't be offended by a team that you consider your at the time, and
arch nemesis.
Yeah, kind of a nemesis of yours in the conference. And then when your actual nemesis, your actual rival, when these things flare up, you don't get to play that card if you've been on the defensive. And so it's just like, hey, this is standard stuff. Like, it would do us all a lot of good. We would all be better for having a little bit more, frankly, a little bit more vitriol in this rivalry. Playfully,
Yeah, like, it doesn't have to be like, personal, or like, like, you obviously you can go too far in things like this, but like, and Cam, to echo yours, to your point, like, you can't be up in arms about a certain Utah player saying these things and then also think it's the greatest thing in the world when a certain quarterback from your school says just goes on a minutes long rant about how much he hates Utah and how classless they are and how you can't have it both ways. It's fine to do both of those. There's no problems with what Max Hall said. There's no problems with what Jaylon Glover said. There's no problems with what Caleb Williams did. It's standard football rivalry.
That's what makes this sport so great. That you have this emotion, you have these feelings, you have this hatred. As much as I'm a Chargers fan, I'm not sitting here, talking trash on the Raiders like this. I do make fun of Tyson from time to time, but not like it's just out of sheer it's just not the same, right? But this. It's what makes college athletics, as it continues to evolve and transition into more of a professional model, right? Money has entered the game. The regionality aspect of the sport, which was so great, for the entirety of the sport until the last 3-4 years with conference realignment changing everything. Regionality has been lost, right? And that was such a unique dynamic in the sport that you could go, to a neighboring state and watch a game, right? That was such an integral part of what made college sports so great was that the amateur aspect of it, these guys just doing it, not getting paid. They should have been paid all along. That's okay. But those things are now gone. This rivalry dynamic is one of the last few things that we have to hold on to that remind us of what makes college football so wonderful, right? As it just, you love these moments, and I loved it too, right? So it starts to go viral, and you see the pearl clutching a little bit. I'll give credit to BYU fans. There were a number that were just like, okay, I love this stuff. I saw a lot of that. And so, you see that. You see Utah fans also pearl clutching a little bit too. Like it's on both sides, right? And I think it just, and then you start to rehash all of these types of moments and regurgitate everything that's happened over the last decade or whatever. And you just relive it all. And it's been kind of fun to see that. And to kind of relive a lot of these emotions over again. At the same time, it can get pretty annoying. And I think there's certainly a place for civility, and you should always respect one another. But man, this is great. I love this stuff. I love when players speak their mind and say what they're feeling. I would love to see more of it.
Oh, 100%. The best moments of this rivalry are when that happens. And the best thing Max Hall ever did was not apologize for that post-game press conference. Because when he did it, he wasn't just he wasn't worried about the feelings of the people he was talking about. He meant what he said. He hates that program. And good. I'm glad he does. I hate him back, and I will until the day I die. And if I ever met him in real life, it would be fine. I would just be like, man, it's I can separate those things in my life, right? I can separate Max Hall, the person, from Max Hall, the football player, when he said those things about my team. And if you can't do that, maybe that's part of your problem. But when Stevenson Sylvester went and broke up the haka, he wasn't worried about who he might offend in the process because he was breaking up their ritual. He wasn't doing that for other teams. He wasn't going up and getting in other teams' faces on the side. He did that because he hated their asses, and he wasn't about to let them have any moment on his field. And those are the things. Those are the things that make this wonderful. Those are the things that make this great. And we're missing those things, and have missed those things because this rivalry has become less common. It's probably part of why we are missing it, is because those things are less common. We don't have this type of thing happening every season. So now when it does happen, it's just oh man. Why does Jaylon Glover hate BYU so much? He hasn't played them before, has he? It's just it starts raising these questions of maybe that is weird, but it's just no, it's not weird, and it shouldn't be weird. That should be the thing. It's just like, welcome to Utah. We love that you picked our school. First things first, it's FBYU. Yeah, now let's go find your locker.
You get indoctrinated into this. Like, yes. I heard a story, like our rivals and my rival in college, Cal Lutheran. Like, I heard that their coach, like when they had recruiting visits, they asked anybody who was on the visit that weekend if they'd been to Redlands before. There's the showers. Go wash the stink off of you. Like, that's like, I was like, and like you hear that, it's like when I like as a Redlands player, I was like, oh, okay, that's how it is. Yeah. Like,
that's okay, let's do this. Like, this is what we love. Yeah, like this is great. Yeah,
Utah and BYU fans want it to be that scene from Sorry to Bother You. I don't know if anybody's seen that great movie. If you guys haven't, it's a Boots Riley movie. But there's a scene in it where Lakeith Stanfield and I think it's Jermaine Fowler, like they're like getting in each other's faces, but everything they say is like, "I hope you have a lovely day. I hope everything that happens today comes up roses." Like it's just like they're complimenting each other, but they're doing it in like a really like screw you way. But like that's what they want the rivalry to be, and that's not what college football is.
It's the Mormon brothers in the casino in Ocean's 11. That's what they want this to be. It's like,
who you calling pal?
Who you calling pal, friend? Who you calling friend? Jackass.
Like that's what like people want this to be, and that's not like, no, it's not what it is.
No,
you don't get to have it that way.
No,
screw that. Screw them.
No, it's so interesting, and I do think, I think the time, right, with what it became over the last 6 years. This is the first time they've played the game at Rice-Eccles Stadium since 2018. It's been 6 years since this game was played in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Like that's crazy, right? Obviously they played the game.
The stop on the 2-point conversion.
No, the last one here was the Jason Shelley.
Jason Shelley. Yeah. Okay, you're right.
Yep. So it's been 6 years since the game was played at Rice-Eccles Stadium. And it just speaks to what you were saying earlier, Kim, is like, we have kind of forgotten maybe about this rivalry. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about, this being a conference game and what it means for this game, for the rivalry.
It's great. It's what was missing from the rivalry. I was one of the, I don't know. I think there was a loud minority of people who said that the rivalry game shouldn't be played, and for all the reasons we just talked about, I disagreed the whole time. I think that was a game that you had to try to put on the schedule because of how much it means and because of what it means in college football, and so that you can create these emotions longer term and for better or worse create a brand. And like it or not, BYU and Utah are joined at the hip with their brands. They will never escape each other, and it would be much better to lean into those things now that it's a conference game, now that it means something more than just bragging rights. I think it adds a little bit more intensity. It makes it so that there's no reason not to play this game every year, obviously. But having that extra importance really makes me glad that even if it's the Big 12, that Utah and BYU are back in the same conference, because I miss this game. I don't like when this game isn't played. It causes a lot of stress. It causes some people way too much stress. Especially this year, it's going to cause a lot of people too much stress. But that's what makes this fun. My only gripe is that it's happening now and it's not happening the last weekend of the year.
No, yes. I'm one of those people that is probably causing too much stress for, and I think it's a product of just how bad the season's gone.
It's more a product of Utah's season than it is the rivalry itself.
Yeah. And the thing I keep coming back to is again, with how bad 4 straight losses, what better way to get back on track or get your first win in God knows how long by beating your rival and giving them a serious ding in the college football playoff picture that you were predicted to be in.
That's what I'm saying is like, I don't see why there's stress around it. Utah's in the perfect position this year. Like, this is the first Utah BYU game I can remember where Utah truly had no expectations going into the game. Like,
yes,
there is no pressure on Utah to win this game. Frankly, they shouldn't win this game by pretty much any objective metric. And like, BYU absolutely has to
win this game.
Has to win. Like, there's so much pressure for them to win, especially now with the playoff ranking and where they came in at 9th. They have to win.
And with everything we said like a couple episodes ago or last episode about like be a hater, like this is hater season for Utah fans right now. This is the top of the hater mountain.
Where's the Gatorade
BYU
Cooler?
After people are calling them underrated and one of the best teams in the country. You're coming in here like looking like you just got out of 4 fights that you lost because you did, and you get to rough these guys up a little bit. Like, what's better than that?
What's better to hear just how bad you are this year, and then you get to win this game and say, oh, you guys thought that you were this underrated team and should be in the top 5 or top 4 or whatever, and you just lost to us. Like,
if BYU loses to this Utah team this year, they should, none of them should show their face for the rest of the season. Paper bags for everyone in a BYU shirt for the rest of the year. It should be embarrassing for them to lose to Utah this year. And that's why I'm so excited about this game is look how bad must you be if you're losing to us? We lost to Houston and TCU and you're losing to us.
So funny. But it hurts so bad, but it's so funny. Oh man,
I will be insufferable if Utah wins this game,
buddy.
Utah
fans,
yes. I have former coworkers who are BYU fans who I haven't talked to in years, and if Utah wins that game, I'm gonna be sending mass texts out to people hey, I don't know if you still have my number, but it's FBYU.
Oh man, and again, kind of bigger picture here is obviously this season, the 4 straight losses, it's brutal, right? But you go back even to last year, it's been a rough, like I was saying earlier, it's been a rough 24 months, and beating BYU in this situation doesn't necessarily negate all of that, doesn't make up for all of it, but it gives you something.
It makes up for a lot of something. It makes up for a lot of it. I was talking with my brother-in-law this weekend, and I was just like, man, if you told me we'd be 4-4 going into the BYU game, I think my reaction would be like, well, but we beat BYU, right? That's at that point, that's all I care about. We got 4 losses, but did we beat BYU? And I think that's where I'm at is will the season be lost if they lose to BYU? Listen, the season's lost.
The season is lost.
There's nowhere to go but up from here. Will the season be salvaged a bit if they beat BYU? Hell yeah, it will be. Because forever I'll get to be that year that Utah probably a few more games ago, but Utah won 5 games. It's beat BYU though.
It's so perfect, man. This is, just a tremendous.
Go win a national championship, BYU. Lost to Utah. We'll take that trophy whenever you bring it back. Thank you very much.
Transitive property of wins, guys.
Oh man.
The best thing is you get to use every argument that any BYU fan has ever made against them for that. Any argument they've made for just decades against Utah, you just get to flip right back on their heads.
Golly, what a season, man. This season flipped upside down. We are in the upside down this season. It's crazy. Curious for you guys. What do we make of this game? Obviously, we're talking about the dynamics, the rivalry aspect of it. It is fantastic that it is a conference game and there are genuine stakes in this game now, right? Going back to 2021, Utah lost that game. They still went on to accomplish their goals. They won the Pac-12. They went to the Rose Bowl. Fantastic season. This, the fact that can directly impact, a season like this it's awesome. but for Utah, it's going to require a pretty impressive effort that I don't think we've seen just yet from this squad. So how does Utah do this? How do they get a dub against BYU?
Brother, if I knew that, I'd have a better job than this one. I genuinely, we've joked about this a couple of times and offline. Like, I don't know that the best option isn't to come out and on Saturday and be like, we're going to run the triple option for 40 plays tonight. See what you can do. and just be like, you know what? We can't do worse on offense. Can't do worse than we've done the last 2 games. So let's see if this gets us in the end zone a couple times. That's where I'm at. I don't know. I genuinely don't know how, like, the formula for winning this game is not one that I am familiar with. It's an upper level mathematics class that I never made it to. That's not to say it doesn't exist. It's not to say that somebody didn't learn it, but it wasn't me, because I'm looking at what Utah's done for the last 4 games and what BYU's done for the last 4 games. And like I said, like, they should wear bags over their heads in shame if they don't pull this off. That's I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Tyson,
sorry to
where
be
are you
such
at?
a laughing pessimist, but that's where I'm at.
I mean, I'll go the other way. I do know, like, I think I've got like the formula for Utah to win the game.
Well,
and it's something
we'll have your application ready to submit after the show.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, again, it's gonna be something similar to what I said before the Houston game. Like, the way Utah wins this game, and I think where Utah, I mean, this game's always close. It doesn't matter how good or how bad either team is. It's always been a close game. But I think the thing that makes me a little hopeful, at least, is the fact that BYU has not played a defense as good as Utah's, as underperforming as underperforming as Utah's been this year. It has been almost all of it on the offensive side. Utah's defense is still Utah's defense. And the fact that they've been doing this with, again, a litany of injuries on the defensive front, on basically the captain of the defense with Karene Reed, and knowing that from what we know, they're about as healthy as they've been all year.
Yeah. That's a big
BYU has not faced a defense as good as Utah's. And for that reason, Utah is going to have chances to win the game. And all it comes down to is having a semblance of an offense and hoping a couple bounces go your way.
Yeah,
a timely interception, maybe one off that's tipped by a defensive lineman or off a receiver's hands, and it falls into a Utah player's hands. Like, you got to hope, obviously, like, it's football, that's going to happen. You got to hope those go your way. But I think more so this game, Utah's got to have at least something happen like that that goes in their favor. But like I said, Utah's defense is going to keep them in this game, I think, no matter what. And I think it's going to come down to, can the offense do enough? And
get a defensive score.
We'll see.
Yeah, get a defensive score, get a special team score. Like, one of those probably might be enough with your defense. Mm-hmm. I agree that BYU hasn't faced a defense as good. I also agree that Utah's defense is good enough to keep them in pretty much any game. I don't know that I agree that any formula that they had going into the Houston game is the one that wins them the BYU game. I think BYU is a significantly better team than Houston is.
Yes.
Well, where I was going with that was, like, a lot of, again, Utah wins the Houston game with a semblance of an offense.
Sure.
Especially in the second half. That's where I'm getting at.
Make the 2 field goals and they win that game.
Exactly. Or it comes down to execution, and it just didn't happen against Houston. But if it happens against BYU, then that's a formula to win the game. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
I think we have to see something from the offense, and
for sure,
a bit tongue in cheek, but like truly something from the offense that we just haven't seen. I don't mean different play calling out of the playbook that we've seen. I mean, we need to see something. We either need to see dramatically better execution, which, like, at this point in the season, frankly, I'm just I want to be optimistic, but
it's
hard for me to think that this team's going to flip a switch on the second bye week and suddenly start executing out of their minds against probably the best team they've played so far. The other part of me thinks then if you can't do that, maybe you need to start showing things that you haven't shown at all before. And so I don't know if that is some variety of trick plays that have been installed or that you've been saving in your back pocket. I don't know if that is more subtle, little nuanced things that are happening like at the line of scrimmage or maybe on the outside that I am not intelligent enough to talk about offhand, or if that's something not as dramatic as the triple option, but something totally different that is going to catch BYU off guard for a quarter or two before they can adjust. That to me feels like the formula, if I'm being honest. Like I think there is a path in the current, like if Utah comes out, if they do execute, because guys get motivated for this game, it's if that's part of the problem with the execution, maybe that is what's solved in this game, because guys have that little bit of extra juice and can be motivated to put in a little bit more extra effort on the execution side. But otherwise, I just think like genuinely, I've not seen enough from the offense to be hopeful that they are going to give Utah anything. Feels a lot like what was the year when the Colts were going to go undefeated and then they sat Peyton Manning the last 3 games. I don't know if you remember, the Bears that year also went undefeated through like 12 or 13 games. And they ultimately met in the Super Bowl. What was that, like 2005?
I think was that Devin Hester? Was that the Devin Hester?
Kick return? That was the that was the season with the famous Cardinals, like they are who we thought they were. Like that's the kind of team the Utah team. Yeah, that's the kind of team this Utah team reminds me of, though. Is like that team's offense was dreadful. They truly won despite their, like, in spite of their offense. And there were games like that Cardinals game where truly the defense and the special teams did everything. Not part of it, not like did enough, did everything, put the points on the board for the team to win. And like, that's kind of what I feel like needs to happen for Utah on Saturday, frankly, is like the other two phases need to play out of their damn minds in order to cover the gap.
I mean, it helped that the Bears had the greatest return guy in league history.
Yeah, not to mention that defense was truly like as good as we've seen in the NFL, even in the 20 years since. But they were truly phenomenal there. I don't know that in comparison, Utah's offense is even that bad. It probably is, frankly. But that's kind of where the level that I'm at is like, you need to be more than you're more than a couple breaks away, in my opinion, from winning this game. Like you need to truly dominate in a couple of phases, and then do just enough in a third.
Yep. I think, offensively, this is going to come down to who runs the ball more effectively, in my opinion. And when you look at the offenses, with the balance that BYU brings into this matchup, in terms of their ability to run and throw, you got to give them the edge, right? So you're going to need your defense to play at a level that's just, be far and beyond what and they've played great. Like, this is the thing, they're playing great football, but they're going to have to play truly disciplined and truly sound when it comes to tackling, when it comes to the fundamentals, right? They're going to have to be so sound, because BYU, that balance that they bring to this is going to demand it. It's going to stress this defense. It's going to require that players, win a lot of one-on-one situations. And that's just kind of the situation that this team is in. So, first of all, you have to control the ground game as best as you can. You've got to make them as one-dimensional, as predictable as you can, right? And, with the things that we've heard, about the defensive line and kind of the health situation that they're in, it does sound like they're going to get a few guys back, on the interior, which I think is significant, because you go back to that Houston game, Unfortunately, a true freshman, Dallas Valkalahi and David Fotu, they're just not conditioned, and unfortunately just wore down at the end of the game, where they're not able to play as sound. They're not able to control their gap as effectively as they could in the first 3 quarters, right? And then that compounds into other issues elsewhere throughout the defense, right? So, the fact that you're as healthy as you've been up front is a big thing for Utah defensively. And so, you've got to control first down. You've got to control the run game. And then, this BYU offensive line, they're playing sound football. It's interesting looking at some of the pressure rates. They don't really have somebody that you can attack, that you can say he's the weak link, and we can scheme up we can get after this guy. You can beat him one-on-one without a doubt. They don't really have that weak link. If there is, it's the Lapuahu kid, but he's still playing good football. And I say that because he's given up the most pressures, I believe, or he's had the most broken blown blocks, which is a metric by Sports Info Solutions. So if I get BYU fans chiming at me, that's where I got it from. Okay. But anyways, like it's gonna put a lot on the defensive front to control the run game, and then to get pressure on Jake Retzlaff, who, when he is pressured and he is, dealing with bodies and guys in his face, he struggles just like any quarterback does, right? He just hasn't had to deal with that a lot this season. I think he's had a clean pocket on about 74% of his dropbacks, which is it's a great rate. And so, can you get pressure on him is going to be the next thing. And that's kind of where you're at. So you got to control first down. You got to eliminate as much of their run game as you can and get them into predictable situations where you can get after Retzlaff.
I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be the coaching. It's going to be A-Rod and Scally. I mean, two guys who know each other extremely well, and it's going to be who's going to adjust and who's going to bring the better game plan. And I think that's going to be, like you said, getting pressure and bringing, a little bit, maybe some more exotic blitzes or, different looks, and getting Retzlaff at least a little bit rattled is going to be huge. Because once you do that again, and if you can control the running game and do that, that leads to, those bounces going your way, to those bad throws, or maybe getting a hit on Retzlaff as he throws and getting the ball off of where he was actually throwing it and into hopefully Utah players' hands. So it's going to be interesting to see what Scally does.
That's the thing is you have evidence that when you get pressure on him, he struggles. Again, just like any quarterback, right? He is not immune to that. He's thrown 5 interceptions under pressure. He's had quite a few more turnover-worthy plays beyond that. So that if you can get to him, you can impact his level of execution, and that's kind of the key. Is you got to make him feel. You got to get to him. You've got to impact, and you've got to influence his ability to execute. And the crowd is going to be a big factor as well. Like, can you disrupt the vibe, the timing of everything? Can you play a role in this game? It's going to be huge to have the defense in your favor for this one as well for Utah. And then I'll switch gears. Offensively, Utah doesn't have the same balance that BYU does, right? BYU is going to come into this knowing Utah has to establish the run, right? They're going to probably come into this. They'll probably start out a little balanced, but as the game kind of gets into it, you can fully expect that BYU is going to shrink the field a little bit, right? And bring a player into the box and just get on their toes a little bit, because they know that Utah has to establish the run, because they haven't shown that they can throw it effectively. So where Utah has to win their one-on-one matchups on the defense side of the ball, offensively, that you're going to get them. That you're going to have those one-on-one opportunities. Can you take advantage of those with the throw? You don't have to throw for 300 yards in this game. You just have to present enough of a threat that you can create 2 to 3 extra yards in the box to allow your run game to establish itself. That's the key to me, is can you present enough of a threat where safeties have to take a step back, where linebackers have to play on their heels a little bit? That is the biggest key to me offensively, is can you present enough of the threat in the throw game to open up some space, some breathing room, for the run game?
Can you make them play off? Can you make them pay off play action?
Yes, that too.
Linebackers coming up, 3 to 4 yards. Can you get a guy behind them and make them pay for that with 10, 11 yard chunk plays? Like, if you can't do that, then they're just going to continue selling out downhill to stop the run, and you're going to get stymied. So, yeah, you don't have to throw for 300 yards. You don't have to throw for 200 yards.
Would be nice.
175. I mean, obviously, like 175, 195, like close to 200. Like I'd be perfectly happy with. And just again, like you said, you have to at least.
I'd need to see the rest of the box score before I would say I was perfectly happy with 175.
But like.
But yeah, no, I see what you're saying though. Like it's not like Utah needs to dramatically outperform what they've been doing if their defense plays well, if they don't make foolish mistakes, give up big dumb plays, if they don't miss field goals, the offense can do almost what we've seen with a little bit more efficiency. First 4-game offense, not second 4-game offense. It's winnable. The Doctor Strange meme. There might be one path, but it's there.
It's there. They have a plan. They've cobbled together the concepts, and they have a plan. So we'll see what that one plan is. Does Tony Stark realize who is Tony Stark in this situation? Who does he realize what he needs to do in this game? Oh man.
Yeah, I think that I'm curious, and maybe it's what are your guys' general feeling? What do you think?
I mean, this is going to be a grind. Like for Utah to win, it has to be a grind.
It's not going to be pretty.
No, and that's I don't, BYU could very much win, comfortably in this one. When you look at it, just the numbers itself speak to that. Like everything points to BYU should win this game, obviously. And I think they can win comfortably. I think for Utah, it's going to be a grind. Like that is your route. That's what it has to be, is you have to grind this out because BYU is just, they're balanced on both sides of the ball. And that will keep you in games. And so this is going to be the toughest test of the season for Utah. It's going to be an absolute grind. But I think, saw last week, against Houston, they had 2 touchdown scores. They missed 2 field goals. I think they can get to 20. I think, having the home crowd behind you is certainly going to be a thing. And I think like that's the ceiling for me, is can Utah get to 20 points? Because the defense has shown that they can limit teams. And if Utah's offense can sustain drives and eat up some clock and shorten this game up, like, that's the formula to me. So it's going to be a grind. It's going to be ugly. That's kind of the route for Utah in this one.
Keep BYU to 17 or under, and I think you can win it. I think I think there's, to the point you were making, I think Utah could win this game by 3 to 7 points. I think BYU could win this game by up to 40 points.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the window we're looking at, is like it's wouldn't be a victory, but if you can just keep this thing close, keep it close into the fourth quarter, and who knows what can happen. But yes, I think you want ugly. I think you want this game to look like an alley fight, because I think that's the only way you come out as the winner if you're Utah.
Yeah, I think Utah's got to think of this as like the classic Utah, like, you're going to come into Rice Eccles, they're going to beat the hell out of you. and then you're gonna leave. Like you got to get, like Cam said, it's gonna have to look like a street fight. So if Utah wins this game, it's gonna be 21-17, 20-14. Like it's gonna be somewhere, somewhere in that
Something
area
crazy.
where like it's gonna come down to like the last second. Like again, like it always kind of does. I don't think they lose. I don't think BYU wins comfortably. I don't see Utah's defense giving up enough points that it's more than 10.
Listen, Tyson, I want to be there with you, but this season has shown me otherwise.
That's what I'm saying.
This season has not shown me anything.
Like that what you think cannot happen is absolutely something that can happen.
Frankly, the fact that you said it makes me think it will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been sitting here. I've been trying to reverse jinx the damn thing. Like Utah cannot do anything, and Tyson's out here like, I think they're gonna win. God damn it,
Ted Lasso, man. I'm just smacking the believe sign on the wall.
I'll tell you this. I don't know if BYU wins this week, but I'll tell you this. I don't think they win the next week. Welcome to the week after Utah, baby. We've been missing you. Unfortunately, it's Kansas, so they'll probably still win.
They'll find a way to lose. Like you want to get weird. That'll be the game that they lose.
Ooh, they go to Arizona State on the 23rd. That could be.
Dude, that one is going to be a
weird.
Arizona
State
State
in the desert.
There's gonna be a lot of Utah fans invested in that game. I'll tell you that.
Yep, there will probably be some red in there.
I might see if we can get tickets to that game. I wonder if it's sold out.
Oh man,
you guys want to go to Tempe that weekend?
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be, yeah, dude. It's this game, man. It's something else. Before we end, you can't talk about the rivalry without talking about your favorite moments, favorite memories. What do you guys got?
One of my favorite.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sure this is a lot of people's, but what makes it like extra fun for me was the Jason Shelley game. Is the big comeback. So I was watching that at the Leprechaun in Holiday Mill Creek area, and Julian Blackman's uncle was there, and I was a little toasty that night, and so was he. And like again, like halftime, you were like, oh yeah, no, Utah's done. They're not winning this game. And by the fourth quarter, me and Julian Blackman's uncle were like almost tackling each other and doing the classic Polynesian chehu like that, just in this crowded bar. And I like my wife's like looking at me like, what are you doing? Like what like I think my wife was a little bit embarrassed about it, but like that made that win so much better. It was just like the elation of celebrating that in that fashion with Julian Blackman's uncle.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Man, I am jealous. I let you go first.
Sorry.
That was totally my pick. No, you're totally fine.
You celebrated with Julian Blackman uncle too?
I am Julian Blackman's uncle. That was me. No, I also the Jason Shelley game. I was pretty vocal during that season that Jason Shelley is one of my favorite Utes of all time. He just so much of what he brought to that team became so clear in that game, and just the swagger he had off the bench, his abilities off the bench. Which I mean, like what would you kill to have a Jason Shelley right now for this team?
Man.
But the stiff arm play, the hurdle, obviously, and then the stiff arm play for the touchdown. I was lucky enough to be in that northeast end zone with pretty good seats, and he rammed that touchdown directly down in front of us. And I don't know that I've ever heard Rice Eccles Stadium that loud, kind of sealing off that comeback. I was lucky. I was there with a good friend of mine who has since passed away. And I'll never forget, like, he and I, like, just in that moment hugging each other and being so celebratory. Because again, 15 minutes earlier, that game was completely out of reach. Julian Blackmon with the pick six to get Utah back into it at the time, right? Like it was so huge. And hard for me to pick anything but that game. Maybe recency bias. There were a couple other great ones that I was also at the 2-point conversion stop, the Taysom Hill stop. Like that was a great moment as well. The I'm forgetting the name of the linebacker now, but the interception on the first pass, the pick six on the first pass to play the game. Yes, Tatioli. Unbelievable. And then the Sly's breakup of the Haka in the southwest corner. Really such an incredible moment, and like not even within the game is what made that so amazing. So many we've been lucky that the past 15 years have been so dominated by Utah that there's so many options to choose from in that regard. Like but nothing will stand out to me quite as much as the Jason Shelley game and that comeback.
Well, and I think cool. Two of the more iconic pictures, at least recently, of Utah football, and especially the BYU rivalry, is obviously the Shelley hurdle. But then the I think it was maybe a TV screenshot of him, and I think it was TJ Green Green in the front in the stands, like arms crossed, like just the gangster pose with the fans around him. Like, to me, that's one of my favorite pictures of the rivalry is that one.
Pretty cool.
Talk about guys too just having fun on the football field.
Yeah,
like, man, those guys were like, even when they were losing, those guys were having fun. Like just and look what happened. It's so much about that. I wish Utah could bottle that, whatever that team had in that moment. That they could bottle that on Saturday. Like just have a little bit of that fun. Even like, man, even if they didn't win, that would be so refreshing to see.
Yeah. I'll wrap this up here with my moment. The 2016
pick the Jason Shelley game.
Clean sweep. No, so that game, I was on the sidelines for that one. You know, I was 2 years into doing this, and that was my first opportunity to watch an entire game from the sideline, and it was so cool to be on the field, to feel that emotion, and feel the crowd as, you know, just the place erupt. You know, as Jason Shelley, you know, hurdles the guy, gets into just an incredible. But 2016, you know, I don't know if I qualify this as my favorite memory, but just given where we're at now in college football and in the rivalry, you know, we went to that game, and I had something just in case, you know, Utah won. That would have made it 6 in a row, and you know, I had Dalai Lama put together a shirt for me, a little shirt design. It says, I didn't don the shirt until victory was secured. It says, halfway to the Big 12, #6 in a row. Here's the picture of it. I don't know if you guys can see it. And, you know, just given where we're at now, I don't know if I would call it prophetic, but certainly there's pain, maybe a little bit. There's some laughs, certainly, and just, man, full circle.
Monkey's paw curled when you put that shirt on.
Yeah, dude. Like, that's what it is. That's what I mean. It just kind of funny how the world works, how things play out. You know, it is exciting that this is a conference game again. It adds just a little bit extra juice to it, you know, and we'll see, you know, the impact, what that means and what it means for both teams, you know, when they take the field Saturday night. Should be, you know, we hope it'll be a lot of fun. We hope. I don't know how confidently
I'm gonna have fun no matter what.
Yes.
Like I said, I think that if you're watching this game and you're not having fun, like, go do something else, man. Go turn it off. Like, go walk away. Like, life's too short to hate watch your own football team. Like, but I'm gonna have fun no matter what happens. I would love it if Utah ended up winning, but there's a lot more fun to be had just watching it, I think.
Yes, agreed. And I think that's a great note to end on. So go out, hate your rival, and have fun on Saturday. Appreciate you, Tyson and Cam. Appreciate all the blockheads. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you all. This is the Utah Blockcast signing off.